Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Shut Up and Read. So today I'll be doing part 2 of my book haul that I got in September. Again, I have quite a number of books in front of me, so let's just get right into the video. So I'll be starting off with the second shipment of books that I got from Book Outlet. This time around, I purchased about 13 books. The first book that I purchased is Nemesis by Brendan Reichs. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about this book because the plot for this actually sounds extremely complicated. I thought it was very simple when I first looked into it like ages ago, where it was about this guy, or this girl technically, and she gets murdered every 2 years, and somehow she wakes up the next day and everything about this crime has been erased and she's not sure what's going on, and it's been happening ever since she was 8 years old. I thought that was the only part of the plot, but then when I was reading the summary again just now, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So there is so much more going on in this book, and this book just sounds extremely intriguing. I am very excited for this book. This is actually book 1 of a series, and I know book 2 came out relatively recently, so I'm really excited for the whole series to come out. So the next book that I purchased is actually the finale of a duology series. I purchased the first book a few months ago through Amazon. I think it was Prime Day, and I picked up the first one. I didn't realize that it was actually a duology. I thought this was a trilogy, so when I found out that the book 2 and the finale of the series was on sale on Book Outlet, I was like, let me just go pick it up anyways. Also, I heard that this is a very quick read, so I figured I might as well just read them both in one go instead of waiting to purchase the second book after finishing the first one. But anyways, this book is called Daughter of the Siren Queen by Trisha Levenseller. So I've actually heard pretty good things about this book in terms of it's fast and it's a fun read, so I'm pretty excited for it. Again, I'm not going to go too much into detail about this because, like I said, this is book 2 and the finale for this duology series, but all you need to know is that there are pirates, there's romance, and there are hidden treasures. So pretty excited for this one. So the next book that I picked up is one that I picked up because of two things. One, it is set in Manhattan, which I really like. Like I said, I like books set in New York City, and two, because it's set in the future and I like futuristic books. So those are the two main reasons why I decided to pick up this one. And this book is called The Thousand Flora by Catherine McGee. So like I said, this book is set in Manhattan, and it's the year 2118, and there is this 1,000-story building that reaches far into the sky, and it follows 5 teenagers in this high-tech futuristic world. And it kind of just talks about these 5 teenagers who they all want something, but the thing is, like, everyone has something to lose. So up here it says the higher you are, the farther you fall, which I think is quite true. So regardless, I'm very intrigued by this book. I know this is also a series. This is just book 1 of the series. I don't know how many books there are. I believe there's 3, could be wrong. Again, I suck at knowing how many books there are in series because I don't really follow all of that. I just follow the fact that there are these new books coming out, and I'm like, oh, haven't even read the first one, so I decided to pick up the first one. So the next book that I purchased is one that I got because I have a few authors that are usually like instant purchases / instant reads for me, and this is one author like that. Plus, I've heard a lot of great buzz about this book, and the book 2 of this series is coming out. I think it's coming out really soon, or it just came out, something like that. And this book is called Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Honestly, I don't know too much about this book, but I do know it's about humans with extraordinary abilities, and with the whole like hero-ish worship that we have going on these days with the Avenger movies and the DC comics, whatever, etc. going on. I am very intrigued by this book, and I loved her previous chronicles, the Lunar Chronicles, so I have pretty high hopes for this one as well. Then the next book that I got is Ink and Bone by Rachel Kane. This one actually came out a while ago, but the most recent book in the series, book 4, actually just came out in July, and honestly, I am really excited for this one. This book sounds really intriguing. It's all about the Great Library of Alexandria and how, you know, like present day, like the reality is that it got lost ages and centuries ago, but this book talks about what happened if the Great Library of Alexandria had survived. And so that whole thing just sounds very mesmerizing to me, and I really enjoyed. I've always loved the whole ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, etc. So the fact that this Great Library of Alexandria survived against the test of time, and this book is all about that, it just sounds very appealing to me. So I'm very excited for this one. So the next book that I got is a retelling of Snow White, and I really enjoy retellings in general, and this book is called The Shadow Queen by CJ Redwine. This is a book 1 of the series. I don't have the other books, but I kind of want to just see if I like the first book first before I go check out the rest, because I actually heard mixed reviews about this book. Some people really enjoy it, some people really hated it, so I didn't want to, you know, devote myself to the entire series if I don't like the first book. But the reason why this stood out to me, not just because it's a retelling of Snow White, but because the female character, the protagonist Lorelai, she actually seems like a much more strong female role as opposed to the traditional Snow White herself. So with that, I'm pretty excited about this one, and I'll see how this one goes. So the next book that I got is one that I got because it's a companion series of a series or trilogy that I really adored, and this book is called The Becoming of Noah Shaw by Michelle Hodkin. So the funny story is that I remember loving the Mara Dyer series or trilogy, but the thing is, I just checked on Goodreads and it turns out that I've only read the first 2 books, at least according to Goodreads, which I'm usually really faithful about updating myself of all the books that I've read since 2009. So, or even 2008, I don't really remember. So I'm kind of thinking that I didn't finish the trilogy. I don't know why I didn't finish it, because I gave the first 2 books 5 stars, which for me is actually quite rare. I give most books 4 stars at most. Only a few books deserve 5 stars. So the fact that I gave the first 2 books 5 stars is actually a huge thing for me. And the fact that I didn't even read the 3rd book, so I might have to go reread the entire series again, because clearly Goodreads says I didn't read the 3rd book. But regardless, I remember enjoying and loving the first trilogy, the original trilogy. So when I saw that she was coming out with a companion trilogy, I was like, yes. So this is book 1. Book 2 is coming out in November, I believe, and I'm really excited for it. This just talks about Noah Shaw and his story, and relevant to Mara Dyer. So I'm very excited for this. I'm not going to go too much into it because, again, this is the companion series, so I'm assuming there might be some overlaps in terms of what happened to with the original trilogy, and I don't want to go into details for that trilogy for spoilers. So regardless, very excited for it. So the next book that I picked up is one that I think is quite relevant in today's society just because of all the news going on and whatnot. But this book is called The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith, and it goes into detail about this girl called Eden who was always, apparently says here that she was always good at being good, but then one night her brother's best friend rapes her, and this just goes into the aftermath of how much it influenced and affected her well-being, with everything that's going on, like stuff that she used to love she now hates, stuff that she used to enjoy she doesn't like anymore, things that used to be simple doesn't seem so simple anymore, etc, etc. And with all the news going on these days about something similar to this, I'm not going to go into details, but I think this book just sounds, I don't know, this book just really resonated with me, and I just wanted to pick it up and check it out. So next book that I picked up is mainly because the cover is absolutely stunning. I really want to read this book as well, but it's mostly the cover that first drew me in. And this book is called A Shadow Bright and Burning by Jessica Cluess. So this is book 1 of the Kingdom of Fire's trilogy. I believe it's a trilogy, and I know book 2 came out last year. This came out in 2016. And the 3rd book is coming out later this year, I believe. It's sometime in 2018. I don't really remember. But I am really excited for it. I've actually heard really good things about this book. I've heard that the writing is very pretty, it's very lyrical. I also heard that the characters are really great, and overall it's a very breathtaking novel and series overall, according to people who have read the entire trilogy by this point. So I'm really excited for it. Definitely can't wait. Honestly, I don't know too much about this book other than the fact that it's fantasy and it's magic, and I love fantasy and magic these days. That is my jam, other than sci-fi. And this one is fantasy and there's magic involved, so I'm very excited for this one. So the next book I picked up kind of on a whim, to be honest. I saw the cover, it looked really pretty, then I read the summary and it seemed really fascinating, and a lot of people were talking about how this is a severely underhyped book, but it's actually fantastic. So I decided to take the plunge and purchase this book, and the book is called Blood and Sand by C.V. Wick. This one is basically about Spartacus, but if it's a female version. So with that in mind, this book just sounds extremely fascinating to me because I love the whole Sparta, like back in the day, that kind of era is very appealing to me. And the fact that this is a female version of Spartacus just sounds really interesting to me. So I'm pretty excited for this one. So the next book that I got is actually book 1 of a series. I don't know if it's a trilogy because I know the 3rd book just came out earlier this year. I don't know if it was the last book though. It didn't really say, but it didn't say that there was another book coming out. So I'm assuming it's a trilogy and that this trilogy is done. But this book is called Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton. So I've heard amazing things about this book, the series in general, to be honest, so I am really excited for it. But it says back here actually that it invokes such disparate influences such as the 1001 Night, Arabian Nights, Hindu lore, and Navajo myth, which I think is a very unique trio of influences. And I don't know, I just heard amazing things about this book and I'm really excited to pick this up. So this book sounds extremely interesting. There are jinns involved, which I actually really enjoy books with jinns, and this, like, so that means there's magic involved somehow. And it's about this girl called Amani Al-Hiza, might be pronouncing that name wrong, and she's a gifted gunslinger with perfect aim, and she's somehow stuck in this backcountry town where she can't seem to get to leave for some whatever reason. And then one day she meets this guy called Jin and finally has a perfect chance to escape. So this just talks about her journey and her adventures, and I don't know, but this book sounds amazing. I've heard amazing things about this book, so really excited for it. So next two books, I decided to give this author a try, and I'm trying to get more into like big books these days. I don't know why, something about them just really intrigues me. The fact that I can just dive into it and stay in that story for hours and hours and for hundreds of pages just sounds really appealing to me. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I recently got into like epic fantasy novels. I think that's just really it, to be honest. But like the few books that I've gotten are like massive books, and so I decided to check out this one author because I've heard really good things about him, and he writes these epic historical fiction novels. So I decided to pick up the first book of two of his like most popular trilogy, and these two books are The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett and Fall of Giants by Ken Follett. And this is book one of the Century trilogy, and this one is book one of the King's Bridge trilogy, which, by the way, these books are massive. I think when I got the package, it said it weighed like 18 pounds for these 13 books. I'm pretty sure like 10 of the pounds belong to these two books alone, because these two books are ridiculously huge. I don't know if you guys can tell, but just look at the sheer size of these two books. So I actually don't know too much about these books, to be honest. I just know that they're epic historical fiction and that they are extremely well beloved by a lot of people, including one of my friends who, when she saw that I put these books on my TV on Goodreads, she immediately commented and was like, oh my god, these books are amazing, etc, etc. And I was like, all right, well, I'm glad, you know, I got your approval. So I have really high hopes for these two books. So those are all the books that I got from Book Outlet. The rest of the books are ones that I got from publishers, from various publishers, or actually I got one or two from giveaways, but the rest are from publishers. And the first book that I got is Damsel by Elena K. Arnold. This book sounds actually really interesting to me because it's all about the whole, like, you know, there's like once the prince comes of age or once the king dies, the prince has to go off to save a damsel that's been captured by a dragon, rescue her, and then bring her home. And this basically just talks about that, which I think is very funny and very hilarious. So it's about a girl called Emma who wakes up and doesn't really recall what had happened. She just knows that she's been captured by a dragon, but she doesn't remember what happened in its lair or what happened prior to being captured by the dragon. And she wakes up suddenly in this prince's arm who had apparently gone off to fight this dragon, slay the dragon, and rescue this girl. So she's not really sure what had happened during that time, and the thing is, she soon realizes that not everything is as it seems, and what had happened, like the horrors that is supposed to be behind her, might actually still be in front of her. So I'm very intrigued by this book. I don't know, this book just sounds really funny to me. So the next book that I got, not really sure where it came from, to be honest. It just kind of showed up, and this book is called The Other Side of Loss by Jessie Kirby. So it seems to me, after reading this quick summary back here, it's about the girl called Mary Turner, whose life is perfect, at least according to her social media followers, but they don't know that on the other side of the camera, her life is actually terrible. She has, or like not really terrible per se, but she has like no friends and no direction in life. And then one day she decides to look into the lens of her camera and just tell the truth, and then her video confession ends up going viral. And now, of course, with this confession out in the air, she kind of just wants to escape. And then one day, I guess she gets this hiking gear from her cousin Bree, from her late cousin Bree, and she decides to go hiking, I guess, to escape what had happened to her on social media. So I guess this book just really goes into detail about like finding yourself and how to be true to yourself, I guess is what the message of this book is about. Not really sure, but this just talks about her journey as she tries to escape what had happened to her on social media. So I'm intrigued by this book. Honestly, I don't really know too much about this. Like I said, it came out of nowhere. Don't really know what to expect. Never really heard of this book until I got it, so we'll see. The next book that I got is one that I'm extremely excited for because literally everyone, I have seen this book everywhere on social media, and I'm like really excited for it because I really want to see what the whole hype is about, because everyone has been loving this book. But I'm also kind of hesitant about it because I've never read any of one, like, so this is their two co-authors, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. The female co-author, I've never read any of her books before, so I don't even know if I would like it or not. The male author, I read one of his books before, and that one I was kind of like, it's okay, you know, like I wasn't super impressed with it. So I really don't know what to expect because I wasn't really impressed with his other book that I read. Never read the other like author's book at all, but I've heard a lot of good buzz about this book, so I'm really curious. When I saw this, that I got this in the mail, I was very excited for it, just so I can finally see what the hype is about. And this book is called What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Severa. So this book, for those who don't know, I feel like most people know what this book is about, but it's about this meet cute story of these two boys, Arthur and Ben, and it just goes about, I guess it just talks about their love story and what happens after they had the meet cute incident. So this book does sound like it'll be a really appealing novel. I just don't know if I will like it because, like I said, one of the authors, I'm like, the other never had an experience with her, like any of her reading books. I've never read any of her books before, so I don't know what to expect. But I'm excited, I'm curious, we'll see what this has to offer. Alright, the next book that I got is part of a book that I got because I'm the ambassador for this program, and the book is called The Thorn Queen by Elise Holland. So honestly, I don't know too much about this book. I just know it's about a glacial world called Glendock, and it's about a 12-year-old girl called Maylin. So I believe this might be a middle grade book and not really a young adult fiction, but somehow she ends up finding this plot to sink Glendock into shadow, and I guess this talks about her journey to try to save Glendock from whatever disaster that is coming soon. I'm not really sure, it's kind of vague in the summary, to be honest, but we'll see how this goes. Honestly, I don't know if this book is really for me, but the cover does look really cute though, and like I said, I got this really as a as part of the ambassador program that I'm in, so not really sure what to expect for this one. The next book that I got is one that I find very intriguing because it seems to be a like a modern retelling of what happened to like Henry VIII and his wives. So this book is called The Dead Queens Club by Hannah Capin. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I got this from a Goodreads giveaway, which makes book 2 in this past year, which I think is an anomaly. I don't know what happened. I must have really good luck this past year, actually this past few months, to be honest, to win 2 Goodreads giveaway in a row. So I'm pretty excited for this one. So anyways, like I said, this is a modern retelling of Henry VIII and his wives, because it's about a girl called Annie Mark who somehow gets transformed into this teenage royalty when she goes to this new school. And the guy, supposed like Henry, of course, the name is still Henry in this book, he has it all apparently. He's a jock, he's a genius, and he's a brooding bad boy all in one. And I guess that explains apparently as to why he has 6 girlfriends in the past 2 years. What it doesn't explain is that why 2 of them are dead. So it's just kind of like, it's just, I guess it goes into detail about like Annie and how she needs to figure out like what really happened to the previous queens of this like teenage royalty thing going on. So I'm really excited for it, very intrigued by it. This book sounds really entertaining, so definitely can't wait to pick this one up. And this one doesn't come out until January 29, 2019, so this is a relatively early-ish advanced reader's copy that I got. So the last book that I got, I'm not really sure where I got this from, to be honest. I don't think I got this from the publisher, and I don't think I got this from a giveaway. It just kind of randomly showed up in front of my doorstep, and this book is called The Impossible Girl by Lydia Y. King. I've actually never saw this book before. I know the author, I've seen some of her books before, but I've never heard of this one in particular. This one came out in September, so just a month ago. now that it's October. So this book is about a girl called Coralie, and she is the only female resurrectionist in New York City at that time. This is 1850s, by the way. I'm not really sure what a resurrectionist is exactly, but from what I gather, it's about the fact that she can procure these dead bodies with these strange anomalies for sellers and buyers who are somehow very interested in, you know, getting these specimens and showing these off. I don't really know why they'd be interested, but hey, everyone's gotta have hobbies, right? So that's basically what I think a resurrectionist is. And the reason why she's called the Impossible Girl is because she has two hearts. And now there's also a series of murders happening, and she's not really sure who to trust anymore because of the fact that she has two hearts, and someone clearly is wanting her dead, probably because of the fact that she has this strange anomaly, aka two hearts going on. So I'm guessing one of her people who's one of the hobby people, basically the people, the clients that she sells to, wants her dead because of her strange anomaly. So that's what this book is about. I'm very intrigued by this book, to be honest. I haven't heard about this book, to be honest, on social media, so I will be going into this book with a fresh start. No prior expectations, low or high, so we'll see how this goes. But anyways, these are all the books that I received in my mail this past month. Yeah, I have a lot of books right now and I don't know what to do anymore. My piles of books that I have going on the side of my room right now used to be one. Now there are three, and they're both like 4 feet tall. So I'm kind of screwed here in terms of books. Definitely gonna ban myself from buying books, but I say that every month for the past 2 months, and that has yet to happen, as you guys can clearly tell from my book haul videos. So we'll see what happens, you know, next month. I don't know. I'm gonna try not to buy any books, but things happen, guys. So anyway, that's all I say for this video. Let me know in the comments below if you had read any of the books that I got this month. I mean, I did have a few books that came out a few years ago. Mostly they're like the first book of a series. So if you had read the series, read the book, let me know in the comments below if you had loved them or not, what you thought about them, just so I can have some, you know, knowledge going in prior to reading the book itself. So anyway, that's all I have to say for this video. As always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's it for today, guys. Thank you. Bye.